everybody, and welcome back to the Oil and Gas Rundown here at King Operating. We are excited to be with you again today, and we hope that you all had a very happy Thanksgiving as we head into the holiday season. We're excited to be touching base with you on some current news in the oil and gas field, as well as giving you some information on the incredible industry of energy here and giving you some practical understanding. But I want to start first with my panel of gentlemen. Of course, our CEO and founder, Jay Young, Steve Mulliken, our Chief Operations Officer, Bill Phillips, our land manager. And we're going to start a little bit today, guys, with some football. Football on the brain, huh? So, Steve, how are the Sooners feeling?
Well, first of all, Rachel, I know you're from the University of Oregon, and congratulations for making the playoff. And Bill, my condolences that you guys aren't going to be there, but we feel pretty good. I think we can get a little bit of offense going. We'll be there, and there's not really that much competition there. I mean, Oregon, I know you guys have done well, but you are kind of originally from the Pac-12, and I just know that's hopefully you guys can meet the challenge. I just I feel like programs like OU and even UT, even though, again, sorry, Bill, I think, we've been here before. So, good luck.
I feel the swagger of confidence, Steve. I feel a little bit cocky, but I don't want to call it cocky. We'll just say a little bit confident. What do you have to say to that, Bill? Bill, you with us? What do you have to say about that, Bill?
Oh, I am. all I can say is, that's all I can say.
Hook 'em.
Wow. Cue up the music.
That's all they can say.
God.
That's all they can say.
I know, but they've had a good.
Where are you at? Where's your team? I don't see your team.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, and I went to D2 school. I mean, I was down in, I was down. I mean, we don't even think about OU, Texas, and those big schools. Man, I went and I had to work. I had to work my way through. Man, I was like working in the oil field and trying to go through the stuff necessary. But no, but I really do appreciate the Texas OU matchup, and I appreciate the SEC and what they're doing in footballs. It's hard to believe it's almost gone. It's like, wow. You have a 7, what is it? Duke is 7-5, and they may get in the college playoffs because they win their conference against the ACC. I mean, it's so crazy, and they're going to have to make some twitches here or there. But I look forward to this college playoffs. It's the top 12 teams, or I don't say top 12, but it's 12 teams that get into the playoffs, and it's going to be a really good matchup. Of course, the top teams are unbelievable, and you'll see some really good football here come into the year. So look forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, let me clarify, Jay. I didn't go to the University of Oregon. My dad played football for the University of Oregon.
Oh.
And growing up in Oregon, yeah.
Wow.
That's why I have an allegiance there. I mean, I grew up in Oregon, and all my family, of course, is from Eugene area. And I love Oregon mostly. We're going to leave it at that. So
Can you quack like a duck? Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I was there last year. I was at Oregon last year because of volleyball, and there was this older lady. She's 70, 80 years old or something. And I turned to her and I said, wow. I said, because we weren't playing Oregon. This was the first day we were there. We were playing somebody else. And I said, man, I said, I guess you're in Oregon, or you've been here for a long time and all that stuff. And she literally turned to me and quacked like a duck. And I mean, like the really big, I mean, like it really took a lot of time and effort, how they talk and whatever. She did it like a duck. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I bet you're popular. And she said, well, I've been around here for 50 years, at this campus, and I love Oregon. And I said, man, you obviously do. But she sounded just like a duck.
Yeah. There's some pretty diehard Oregon fans. And you have to remember, Oregon is not like Texas. I mean, you've got two universities, major universities, basically, Oregon State, University of Oregon. We don't have pro teams. So, I mean, it's slim pickings of where you put your devotion in sports. You got Blazers, Trailblazers as well. But
yeah.
All right, moving off the quacking like a duck, let's get into some news today, Jay. Let's talk about oil prices, gas prices, crude finally bumping up to $60 a barrel, which is good to see, and natural gas looking at $5. So, looking at the shift, what are we thinking about 2026? Is that plans to, does that, help us think about production? Where does that correlate, Jay?
That's a great question. And we just signed up for another rig, I believe, Steve. We signed up another rig, and we're drilling. And it's costing 20-30% less than other rigs that are the same capability to drill the same type of well on the Bivens Ranch. So we're saving money right now drilling for oil and gas, and we're under budget on our last 2 wells that we drilled out there. We'll be under budget on the next 2 wells, or the budgets was $27 million on the first 2. It's $23 million on the next 2, and that's a big decrease, and we feel like we can get below the 23. So that's good news in regards to drilling. Now, if you get $30 a barrel, that's not good, right? So that's going into next year. What do we see, and what's going to happen next year? Well, I believe because, the rig count's off like 30-40% from 2 or 3 years ago. From 2023, rig count's down in the Permian Basin for drilling for oil wells. It's down a lot across the spectrum. We're not seeing as many wells being drilled all across the nation, which means that our supply is going to dry up in about 6 months, a year. The rig count is what drills for oil and gas, and they drill wells. And so if they're not drilling new wells and putting them online, and the wells that just come online decline rapidly like they do, we're going to need oil in 2026 and 2027, but that'll be a great thing for us. We anticipate oil prices to be $80 a barrel or more going into the last half of 2026. And that means that because we have such a shortage, or we will have a shortage of oil, and the reason why prices go up and down, it's all because of supply and demand. We're not going to have the supply necessary going into the end of 2026, and we feel like that at the end of the end of 26, that we will see prices back in the $80 or more price range.
Yeah. That's good, Jay. So with both oil and gas, kind of simultaneously showing strength, does that open up more of a sweet spot for mixed basin operators, or, oil and gas? How does that complicate capital allocation decisions, or what are your views on that?
Yeah, well, it's like it's you want to buy low, sell high. That's what we like to do, and that's what we're thinking about in a private company. A lot of private companies can do this. So we're drilling with prices down, and we're going to save, millions and millions of dollars drilling the wells now, because it does cost less money to drill wells as the price comes down. Because when you're drilling a well, I don't know how many different vendors we use. 70, 80 different vendors we use to drill one well, and that's just like building a house. When you build a house, you don't call one guy fits all type deal. No. You call the door guy. You have a general contractor, and he calls the door guy, he calls the stereo guy, he calls the paint guy, the roof, the front door. All these different vendors, and we're doing the same thing. And if they're not being called by a lot of people, then they'll negotiate prices. And so we're in a very good position right now of drilling. We're going to have 2 rigs running here in December, January, and because of that, we can call many different vendors and say, "Hey, we want a rig," and they go, "Well, we got 3 in the yard." That's a lot better in negotiating than we don't have a rig available. Maybe in February, March, we may have one open up, and oh yeah, by the way, it's $25,000 a day. Where we can call somebody with 3 rigs in the field or in the yard and say, "Hey, we need a rig," and they go, "Well, I got this one right here. It's $20,000." You can save money, substantial amount of money right now going into this year, and that's what we want to see. We want to lock in some prices as we go into the new year, and as we see prices rebound, which they will. Price, like I said, supply and demand. We're not going to have the supply necessary as we did before, and we're going to need oil, and we're not going to have it next year, and so we're going to need it, and we're not going to have it, so prices are going to go up. And it's just a cycle. It's been doing it four generations I've been around this industry, or I've been around I've not been around 4 generations, but I've been around the oil patch, since the 80s, and I didn't get my engineering degree because of the biggest probably decline in the history of oil back in the late 80s. My dad was like, "Don't go into oil and gas because of this," and it was a huge, detriment to the whole industry at that time. And I didn't study anything in oil and gas at that time, and then I got in the stock business because that was something else I could do, and then got into oil and gas right after that, which is in 1990. But since then, all we've seen is ups and downs in the oil patch, and as prices come in and out. While we're fortunate right now to drill, we want to get a rig, and we want to drill wells, and we want to keep rigs running at these cheaper prices. So when prices do go to 80, you drill them at 60 and you produce them at 80. I think that's a home run, Steve. What do you think? What have you seen?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think one of the advantages we have as a private company compared to some of the the bigger companies, the majors, the big independents, is that they're very budget driven on an annual basis, and so they have a set budget. They it kind of, and if they see reactions to pricing, they may cut that budget, or they may have this big spend towards the end of the year because they have to spend the budget so they don't get it. With us, we can be opportunity driven to where, like right now, it's a great time. I mean, as you talked about the rig count, I mean, as we've gone out and gone for bids on the rig for the next 2 Bivens wells, we had some of the big drilling vendors actually come to us about wanting to bid on this project. And of course they weren't able to compete because they really have way too much overhead and stuff. But the point being is that, right now costs are down on the vendor side. And so we can take this 23 million and hopefully bring it in much less than that. And then, again, I agree with you as well, Jay, is that as we get into next year and as people kind of back off, we are going to have a supply issue, and we should see a rebound in the pricing. So.
Yeah.
Good insight, Steve. Thank you. Yeah. We're making the most of the opportunities that we have right now with where prices are at. Definitely. As Jay says, you want to buy low. That's better for us, and definitely optimizing that right now. So thank you so much, Steve, for that insight. So we're just going to talk a little bit about, Jay, Steve, Bill, you guys can chime in. I want to talk about, why do some operators intentionally run lean and delay spending until the next year? Can you expand on that? One of you guys, any insight on that? I'm going to go through some questions we had.
Yeah, well, I just think that it's all about budgets. It's all about how the feeling of the board of directors is, and it's like they have their biggest shareholders, and they're like, we don't want to drill when prices are down. Prices are down, so we don't want to drill because break-evens are in some areas. Now, not all areas are the same, because you can have some locations that need $60, $70, $80 a barrel. To break even, right? But they don't necessarily take in consideration, the cost of drilling, because the cost of drilling goes down substantially from 80 to 60. And that break even point, you don't want to drill wells at 80 and the price go to 60, because then you're going to need more barrels to break even. Yep. It's all about how much money does it cost to drill a well, how much oil is going to come out of the ground over time, and what's the price of that commodity, which is oil and or gas, because the wells that we've been drilling, in the past few years have oil and gas. They're not just natural gas, or they're not just oil, as they have both. They have oil, and they're gas driven, so they have natural gas associated, which means they're going to produce natural gas, and we can sell the natural gas. So, but yeah, the budgets, it's all about what feels good to the investors. That's why Apache runs away from this project, because the shareholders say, get out of Amarillo, go back to the Permian. We don't want you to waste time out here in this Amarillo, patch. We want you to go back to the Permian. And so Apache goes there, and all of a sudden we find an incredible field, and we have the opportunity to drill some really great wells out here, and have some opportunity that, because they left it behind. So when you say something about, oil and gas companies aren't always the smartest, and they're always not, they don't necessarily do everything, necessary, but hey, you know what? They left Amarillo, went to the Apache High. I think that's what they called it, wasn't it, Steve? The Apache
It's
High.
Alpine High.
Alpine
Yeah.
High, yeah, out in the west of Permian, and lost their shirts on it. They spent hundreds of millions. But they go where
Right.
Wall Street gives them the money. Whatever Wall Street says is what they do. And Wall Street doesn't necessarily always know about oil and gas or about commodity prices or what's the best decisions that you can make. And that's like us. I mean, we're just a private company. We want to come in. We want to drill wells efficiently. We want to drill 15 to 20 wells out here and then divest the asset to somebody that wants to take it to the next level. So I'm excited about the Bivens project, and I'm not really talking about MidCon. I'm just talking about this area. But I don't think that was your question, was it, Rachel? You didn't ask me about that. But I'm going to tell
All
you.
right, that's good stuff. I think so much of our hearts and our minds are filled with the Bivens Ranch because it's so incredible, and the opportunity and the targets we're hitting there. So yeah, it bubbles over, Jay, doesn't it? It seems like we start talking about one thing, and then here we are talking about Bivens again because we're excited about it. But let me ask Steve this question, just about capital allocation. So what happens if an operator actually has leftover capital from a project? What if they don't use all of that? What do they do with that leftover money, Steve?
Well, like I said, depending on the company, lots of times if they don't spend that money, the next year they don't get it. And that's where I think some of the majors and larger independents kind of miss their pick, is because they are driven by those budgets, and the way the finance group looks at that is that they're saying, well, if you don't use your budget, then that they look at it as saying, well, that's money we could have put elsewhere, and so they get penalized for it. And so with that excess money, it kind of goes back in at the end of the year to a pot, and if there's a group over another area, whether it was successful or not, they spent all their capital, they may end up getting that. So it's kind of it is a different way of thinking, but a lot of companies think that way. And the bigger ones can do well with that because they have a large portfolio. But when you're a small private company like us, again, we've got to look at we got to, push forward, and it's a long-term business. It's one of these things we're not going to react to near-term markets like are going on now. I mean, people might be a little nervous because we dipped below $60, but go back and look the last 20 years. We've dipped below that before, and then boom, the next year it's been well surpassing that, and on average, probably over, I don't know, Jay, probably over the last 20 years, we probably have averaged $70+ a barrel.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've seen some times where we've been in the low 50s, even cracked 50, and other times where we've been $90 and $100. But as a whole, like I said, we're hearing it for the long term, and for us, the long term is like a 3-year, no more than 5-year kind of focus. But typically these markets, they're very fast acting, and I think over the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see very strong pricing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree, definitely. So let's keep talking. So Bill, I just want to pull you in here into the conversation, not just about University of Texas, but as we're kind of talking about Bivens Ranch and some of these locations, what are the key indicators as a landman when you're going out and you're looking at different properties like Bivens? What are things that always stand out to you as positives when you're looking at a potential area? What are some positives and negatives?
Right. One of the things, having looked at a lot of different assets all over the U.S. and other places, is you look at one thing we focus on here at King is repeatability. If you find yourself in an area where there's no pipeline takeaway, where it's a long way to get your oil or gas away from the project, that costs time and money, and you don't want to sink a lot of money into drilling and completing wells, and then it takes forever to get the oil or gas out. That's one of the things that coming, from a larger company prior to joining King, is that our dollars had to compete with other projects, not just within the U.S. So we were unfortunately unable, like I said, in a prior large company, to drill prospects that were highly recommended internally in the U.S. because those same dollars had to compete with projects in the Middle East and South America and other places. And it's just a different economic outlook, kind of on the future. But a big factor is looking at running room, how quick you can get in and out. The Bivens projects, although we're in the Texas Panhandle, we're already selling oil within just a week or so of having the wells completed and flowing back. If you were in the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America now, you could easily spend several $100 million before you were ever able to move gas or oil through a pipeline, just because those lines had to be built, and you may be on a platform that was in several thousand feet of water. So it's a different environment altogether. The Bivens project and others that we look at here, we look not only at long-term, but the short-term return on investment. And that's one thing that we enjoy is on the Bivens Ranch. It's large, it's got repeatability. I think our friends at Apache kind of wish they were back there, but they're not. And they're not going to get our acreage again, so that's a good thing.
Well, they can have it. No,
Bill,
they can have it. Bill, they can have our acreage, but they just got to pay for it.
They've got to pay for it, right?
That's right.
And it's not cheap, Jay. It's not cheap.
Absolutely, 100%. You guys have done an incredible job, and Steve, Steve puts together all the land, and he's over land geology engineering, and he's putting the drilling and making sure that we land that lateral exactly where we wanted to, which I feel like on the north lateral for sure. That well is still flowing up 2 miles of 5.5-inch casing. That's 2 miles up. There's enough pressure down there to lift, the oil, gas, and water 2 miles up the hole all the way up. So and that's still flowing after, I don't know, a couple of months or something, or I think it
we're about 35, 40 days right now.
35, 40 days. I don't know how many.
40, 45 days, baby.
Did we sell any oil in November, or is our first sales in December? Do you remember?
Yeah, we started selling oil in November.
Okay.
Yeah, but we produced a little bit of oil in October, but the actual sales of the first sales was right at the very first of November.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. October, November. Yeah, we're into this.
Right,
is December.
October, November. Yeah.
Hello.
But yeah, they started producing a little bit in October, just not enough to have a transport of oil at the time. So.
All right, that's good. Awesome. So we're selling about 2 loads a day, 2-3 loads a day is what it's about 500 to 600 barrels a day in oil, and a lot of gas, but oil. So we're selling about 500-600. That's 2-3 loads a day, 2-3 loads a day. Say 2.5. That's probably about 30 loads. 2.5. I mean, I'm assuming that a load's about 180, 200 barrels.
Yeah.
190
that's between
barrels.
once. Yeah, that's it. That's right. About 180.
Yeah. Oh, so 180. That's how big the truck is that goes in there and picks it up. That's one thing Bill was talking about too. Is that these trucks have to go in and pick it up, and it costs money for that truck to come all the way over there and pick up that oil and transport it, or to drive it to the refineries that's going to do something with the oil, and that's what we're trying to get away from, and that put everything in a pipeline. So this field should produce, after drilling, as many wells that we can out here. It's going to be great for the Bivens family to have, 30, 40, 50 wells online. But, right now, 500-600 barrels a day, nothing to sneeze at. We got a rig coming on to drill 2 more wells, and that'll double the production. And then we have 4 wells going in next year. So we have, we'll have 4 wells online by next summer, 4 wells on by next summer, and then we'll We're going to drill 4 more wells after that. So, and the answer to your question, Rachel, what do you do with leftover capital? If it's $23 million and we had $22 million that went to the wells and there's $1 million left over, we would find an AFE or another way that we can spend that money across the board to deploy capital. We want to get as many barrels as possible, and that's what I talk about all the time with the King operating part is, hey, let's participate on projects that produce barrels. So it's like ConocoPhillips. We found an AFE with ConocoPhillips. We invested $3 million with them. We've made back $5 million so far, and those 3 wells that we produced there, $1 million a well, just keep producing really, really strong. And so that's what happens is we deploy every dollar we have. We're not coming back to you for cash calls, things of that nature. We use the money necessary in the fund to drill these wells and get this asset. The Bivens Ranch could be worth literally $1 billion or more if we drill enough wells in it, and if the repeatability, which is what Bill talks about, the repeatability's there, and people can come in and drill 3 to 5, 7 wells a year. Yes, then somebody's going to give you a lot more money for it because you have those PUDs, those 2 locations on each side, one on each side of the well that's drilled. That's a location that a company can come in the future and drill, and they know that, okay, here's one location, and then you have 2 locations, one on each side, and if this well that we just drilled produces 1 million barrels of oil equivalent, then you know those 2 loss-setting locations will also produce 1 million barrels of oil equivalent. SEC allows you to say that as long as they're close. I mean, they can't be, where Bill lives in Oklahoma or something. They got to be right there next to it. Those 2 locations. So we look to drill wells to increase the value substantially, and how you do that is by drilling a good well, but also having 2 locations, one on each side that we have that are called PUDs that a company will come in and go, all right, that'll produce 1 million barrels of oil. If I gave you $10 a barrel, if my first $10 a barrel or $10 million for that one location, I know when I drill the well, I'm going to have 1 million barrels. And they may say, I'll give you $5 or $10 or $15 a barrel. I mean, it matters what the price of oil is. But they'll give you money for that PUD. And that's what we're looking for, is looking to create value within our fund so we can do it. And plus tax write-off season. But anyway, Rachel,
That's right.
I'll let you come back.
That's right. This is it. It's December, and it is the tax moment. That's what I would call it. We have some other great webinars coming up actually in December, but there's about, what do we got? I mean, you got less than 30 days if you're looking for a great tax deduction. One of the strongest tax deductions out there is definitely oil and gas. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely reach out to us. You can go to kingoperating.com. You can leave a comment below and we'll get you that information. We will be taking wires, Jay, up until December 31st. I was talking about that with Ed Lyon. I was like, you don't have to wire on the 31st. You could wire now. You could wire today. You could wire tomorrow. But we will take those wires on December 31st if need be. And of course, you definitely want to check out Jay Young's book, The Upside of Oil and Gas Investing. This is definitely going to give you a deep dive into our model, why we're different, our acquire, develop, and divest strategy, how we scale assets and bring you as an investor in on that front row to take part in the profits. So Jay, the book is amazing. They can get it on Amazon, published by Forbes Books. You definitely want to read this. It's got some great stories in it as well from your family, which I love, your history, 4th generation oil and gas man. It is a great read or a great listen if you want to listen to it on audio. Jay narrates it himself, which is what I love. I like when people narrate their own books. Yeah. They're so much more powerful. Yeah. So
enjoyed it.
Definitely, shoot us a comment below. Reach out to us if you want more information. You can always connect with us. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So I think, guys, we're going to wrap up. OU or Texas, if they played again, who wins?
It's no contest because Texas didn't make the playoffs. So I mean, it's not even. We win by forfeit automatically.
Oh wow! There you go.
Boomer.
Red River
Well,
rivalry.
Right. All I can say is in the last 2 years, when Texas played Oklahoma, Oklahoma has not scored a touchdown.
Oh, wow.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Sorry.
but-
They still
yeah,
need
that
some
sounds
offense.
like somebody from the outside looking in, though. That's
Right.
all.
Phil, you fight back. I will not let Steve bully you over this, okay? I mean, we
There
all
you
know
go.
it's going to be a quack, 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 quack. I'm just saying.
There you go.
Actually, I really was hoping that Texas would make the playoffs so that we could play them again.
Yeah.
So I could, because now I've got a whole year that I have to work with Bill. No matter what we do, even when we do win the national championship, he's still going to say they beat us. So I that's the only downside. Only downside.
Well, and we can say this, the same applies to our great friends in Bryan College Station, the Fighting Texas Aggies. So, in fact, they haven't beat us in over 5,500 days.
Wow.
Wow.
Think about that one.
I actually think UNT is going to be the one who's going to win it all if they get it.
Well, UNT
They could be.
is actually really good.
Yeah.
They set all the NC2A records in a lot of different ways. So
If I was going to take a choice, if I was going to basically stay neutral and not be rooting for the Sooners, to be honest, I think Tech is the sleeper. Texas Tech seems to really have, surprisingly, a very strong team. So they're one to watch.
They got $7 million in that defensive line. You bet
That's
they
true,
should
man.
have. Hey,
That's
another-
oil and gas money too. That's oil and gas
Another
money.
guy that does it like we do, Cody Campbell, has been extremely successful in his funds. We do it the same way he's doing it. He does not use private equity or he uses private equity institutional money. We don't use that. We use investors just like you. So like the Bivens Ranch will be just like him building up one of his assets. Builds it up, and sells it. And we do the same thing here. But we do it for you, the investor. So that's that's why I wrote the book, The Upside of Oil and Gas Investing, right here. That's over my shoulder. My left shoulder, yeah. The camera puts me around backwards. But that's the reason why I wrote the book, is I want to tell you something. And there's something different about our program than anybody else's. So, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I guess we'll see you back here next week, right, Rachel?
Yes, absolutely, you guys. We will see you back here same time next week. Thanks so much, everybody.
Great.
See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Any questions
Bye.
about
Bye.
Landman? I was going to say that. Any questions you have about Landman, write them down below or text us or email us, because I know my wife and I watch Landman and she's like, okay, stop this. What does this mean? Or what does this mean? If you have a question about it at that time, just text us or email us and we'll be sure to answer on one of the shows. Thank you.
Answer all your landman questions right here. Absolutely.
If I don't know,
All right,
Steve does
everybody.
or Bill knows.
Bill knows the answers. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. See you next week. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Bye-bye.